I'm a retiring jack of all trades. No, I'm kidding. I have had a recent creative epiphany that really had me take a look at all of the things that I put into my life, hobby-wise, creative project-wise, and recognize the true reason why I have considered myself a jack of all trades. Now, don't get me wrong, I still find so much benefit of being a jack of all trades and having all of these tools under your belt, because then you get better at the other fields and whatnot, because you're able to take things from a different field. However, in my particular situation, that the reason that I have so many hobbies and I pick up so many creative projects, I'm trying to distract myself from this one dream that I've always had since I was a young kid. Throughout my life, I've picked up so many hobbies to distract that feeling of disappointment of not starting that thing, or of not fully believing in myself for this particular thing, becoming an author. Have dreamed of this for so long. I even told myself, I'll save being an author for my 40s. But I think that was just me putting it off, because a part of me now was hesitant to believe that I'm capable of doing the thing. When I think about all of the other career paths that I've been on, all the job titles I've had, all the side quests that got me far, I have saw those through to the end of that particular project or that particular position. So for example, one of the hobbies that turned into something more serious for me was my digital art and my creative self-portraits. And if you've watched or listened to any of the other episodes, then you know that I've said that I've fallen out of love with that. And a couple episodes back, I was like, yeah, I'll pick up painting, which I'm still doing. I haven't given up yet. But I also recognize that there was one particular hobby in the back of my mind, in the shadows of my life, waiting, craving, desiring to be fulfilled. And so I'm bringing it forward with more confidence, with more understanding of why I kept it hidden for so long, even when I desire it the most. And it's very important to recognize other things in your life that you're doing that for as well. Like, what am I keeping away from myself, although I know I desire it the most, although I know it will make my life so much better. But yeah, so since then, I had this feeling of excitement and this feeling of liberation, of taking away this creative blockage that I've had, and really like seeing why I have been wearing all these hats is because I'm avoiding the most important hat to me. I could feel like my younger self and my future self being so excited that I finally aligned with the truth, with, the reality of things. And I actually just launched my Substack. I just published an article called Finally a Fiery Passion. It gives more insight to the epiphany that I had, and it's basically this video but in a little short article. The first time that I thought of it as an option was I was posting videos on my TikTok and sharing like little short blurbs of me talking and sharing insight and stuff. And one of my friends was like, you should make a Substack. And I'm like, I never thought of that option. So yeah, I've just launched a Substack and it feels so great. I consider it my entry point into the writing community, into allowing my words to just exist on their own, because I feel like that also is an insecurity that I've had in the past, or something that kept me away from truly sending off my work, is that I always felt like a face needed to be behind it, such as me speaking, or like art needed to be behind it, like my digital art and self-portraits. So I wasn't really fully confident that my words could stand alone, even if there's just music like on a reel. I just felt like it needed an additional thing, which is so funny because even when I was in the process of publishing this article on Substack, I was like, oh, I gotta look for pictures, I gotta look for like memes to, put on top of the article, so people can really like understand like the feelings that I was having and stuff like that. And it kind of started to prolong this publishing thing, because I'm like looking for things that I feel like would enhance it, which I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. But for someone like me who has put this dream off for so long, I don't need any more distractions. I don't need anything outside of me to get this moving forward. So I just told myself, I was like, you know what? No pictures, no music, None of the extra stuff that is unnecessary for people who truly just want to read the words. Everything that you need to make this thing go forward is most likely already within you, already within the words that you've written, already within the art that you have made. You don't need something else. Having the confidence that it can stand alone and people will understand. I need to get into the habit of being like, okay, the words are here. That is what is important. That is what's going to move things. Okay, that is what's going to grab people's attention. The type of books that I want to write, the literary fiction, the nonfiction that I want to write, a lot of words for a lot of pages. So I have to get comfortable seeing that, and I have to get comfortable being in that environment. I'm allowing myself to explore the discomfort with not adding things that don't need to be there. I've seen aspiring content creators think that they need to buy the most expensive camera and the most expensive microphone when they have a perfectly perfect phone to record on, to create content on. When you're in this habit of putting things off, there's always going to be a part of you that's like, oh, I can't do it yet because I need this. Oh, I can't do it yet because I need this. And it's just going to be a constant cycle because you're going to constantly see other things that you don't have and feel like it is necessary in order to make this dream come true. The most simple action can be the most life-changing. And it's just publishing that article. It's just releasing that video. It's just recording, that podcast episode. You don't need extra things attached to it. Even when I was in the process of building up this podcast and brainstorming this podcast, I was playing around with the fact like, oh, do I want it on just like on Spotify, or do I want it just on Apple Podcasts as the audio, because I'm really comfortable with like having the camera on and I want people to be able to see my face and stuff like that. But I got to a point where I was like, well, I obviously do both because I do YouTube and then I also have the audio version on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But for Spotify and Apple Podcasts to exist, I had to get over the fact that I don't need the additional, aspect of it on there as well in order for it to thrive. The people who are going to find it, the people who are going to connect with it, will connect with it perfectly with the way that it is. But yeah, I feel like this is my first time in a while to where I'm really anchoring down and like niching down to a particular dream. Now that I have like so much free time because I'm not dibble dabbling and everything to hide my passion for this one thing. Now I'm just able to exist and be like, okay, I'm going to be a writer. I'm writing that. What's Mielle doing? It's Thursday at 9 p.m. What is Mielle up to? Oh, she's probably writing. That girl is probably getting that book together. That girl is probably getting that Substack article together. That girl is probably brainstorming ways to build up her, community of readers. And I am. That's exactly what I'm doing. Like, I remember I got off at 7 p.m. of work, on, I think it was a Monday, maybe something like that. And I was like, man, I'm hungry. But I was like, maybe I should just start writing so I don't, fall out of the habit, or so I don't end up not doing it tonight. But I was like, I really want dinner. Like, girl, I'm hungry. So I was like, you know what? Let's eat the dinner. And then when I'm eating dinner, I like to put on a TV show. So I put on the TV show, and then I watched a couple of episodes, and in the back of my mind, I was just like, oh, I feel like I'm going to not write today. Like, I feel like I'm getting too distracted, yada, yada. Next thing I know, it's like 8:59. And when I tell you at 9 p.m., with no deeper thought whatsoever, I turned the TV off. I made me some coffee, my mushroom coffee. I got my laptop out, and I wrote until 11. 11 p.m. is when I closed, 11:45 is when I closed my laptop. But it just happened. Like, I didn't think too much about it. So I've heard people say, like, when you are building a new habit, when you are building like a new routine, you can't give yourself too much time to make the decision or to postpone the thing. You just have to get up and do it. At 9 p.m., I was just like, okay, let's get to it. Turned the distractions off, got everything that I wanted to have in my environment to write, and I wrote. And it feels so good. Later on, if I do find myself procrastinating in some way, then I will just tell myself, okay, how can we make this to be in the area, the mood that you're in right now? So For example, I have many different places around my apartment that I can write at. I have a place with 2 monitors that if I want to be at the screen and typing on, 2 different screens and planning it out, I can do it over there. If I'm more in a calm mode and I don't want to stare at a screen early in the morning or late at night, I'm going to whip out my journal. At my coffee table, if I'm feeling coffee table vibes, I'm sitting at my coffee table. If I do not want to get out of bed, I will bring my journal or my laptop to my bed. Having an environment that fully supports the dream that you can do it at any stage, any mood, any energy level, any spot. I am super ecstatic about this new journey, this new future, this new, vision with writing and becoming an author and publishing books. And, meeting more people who are writers and more people who enjoy reading. I am ready for that. I'm not going to wait until I'm in my 40s to start writing. I am going to start now. I'm going to be serious about it now. And I might even finish the book before I'm 30. I'm 27 right now. I recently heard this podcast episode by Florence Given. She was given, I think, a year to write a book. And she took that year because she kept telling herself, well, I have a year to write it. So she just kept putting it off. But then she was also given this other opportunity later in life where I think she gave herself 3 months to write the book, and she wrote the book in 3 months. So if I'm telling myself, yeah, I'm going to have a book written by 30, then I'll have the book written by 30 because I'm giving myself all that time. But I think I'm going to set a different timeline for it, just to challenge myself a little bit. I hope in this episode you have found something that, lit that fire within you, re-sparked the passion within you, made you realize something about the distraction that you have in your life and why you haven't started that dream. I hope this episode gave you some type of insight, because this is the podcast of Intro to Insight, and that is all what it is about. I'm trying to give you guys nugget wisdom, things that have helped me out in my life, and hopefully it's going to help you out in yours, okay? Thank you for tuning in. I'll talk to you all later. Bye.